Welcome to episode 9 of the Ask the Law Firm Seller Show. My name is Jeremy Poock and I lead Senior Attorney Match. In today's show, we'll have two segments, a Q&A segment and a Pook's Post segment. So let's jump right into it. For our first question today, our first question is, why are today's senior attorneys tired of running their law firms? So we're hearing that a lot as of late. And there's really three reasons why senior attorney owners of what we call small business law firms, why they are tired today. Really exhausted is something that we're hearing quite often. So the first reason why is because we're coming out of COVID, right? That is, coming out of COVID, senior attorneys during COVID were very much in a what we'll call a fight or flight type mode, right? We needed to survive, the business needed to survive, and we worked really hard to make sure that our clients were served, our staffs were preserved, and that the business survived. Coming out of COVID, though, for those attorneys that are, 30 plus years into their practice, they're really tired at this point because they've come back to that same grind of thinking, well, maybe next year I can slow down. Or heck, I wish I could finally take a 2 week, let alone a 3 week vacation. And then that every 2 weeks and that once a month, that every 2 weeks, payroll is your responsibility. And once a month, you've got to pay that lease payment either to a landlord if you own your own building. It's a mortgage that you're paying, and that same grind post COVID has just left a lot of senior attorneys just tired. The second reason why senior attorneys are tired today in this post COVID world in the mid 2020s is because they just continue to expect that there would be internal successors, that they will walk down the hall and offer and ask about, inquire into succeeding to ownership at the firm. And as we say often to our clients, for as much as you want your would be internal successor to walk down the hall to have that conversation with you, well, you hired these people as key employees. And really, they just want to stay as key employees. They can't afford often to purchase your law firm. They went to law school and not business school. And what's often on their mind is that they're really afraid that you may retire someday because you're the person that is the owner of a senior attorney led firm. You're the person that writes their payroll checks from whom they receive, twice a week, twice a month. And that just leads to senior attorneys continuing to just be tired of the fact that why do I still need to run and own this office? Why don't they just come down the hall and offer to purchase it? The third reason why senior attorneys are expressing that they're tired in the mid 2020s is because the world has changed. Most senior attorneys have practiced for more than 30 years and they grew up and built their businesses in the pre-Google 1.0, what we call word of mouth era. In that 1.0 word of mouth era, they handed out countless business cards, became great lawyer rainmakers, and that's how they knew how to build business, by being out and about in the community and build up their goodwill, build up their reputation so that other lawyers, other professionals, friends, colleagues, relatives, when people would ask, who do you know? They would recommend who's now a senior attorney to say, you should see such and such an attorney. Well, that world has changed because we are now in a post 2020, what we call the 3.0 digital era for law firms. And in this 3.0 digital era, clients have changed. Clients have changed about how they search for their lawyers. And they're searching now on Google and beyond Google as well. But we're often saying that Uncle Google is America's greatest referral source for lawyers. And in fact, Uncle Google is becoming America's greatest rainmaker for developing clients. And for those senior attorneys in the mid 2020s who are now having to work even harder to develop business if they're not committed to multi-channel digital marketing, it's absolutely tiring to be bringing in new business for a firm that you continue to run to make sure that you can continue to keep the firm going as an ongoing concern. So that leads to this, thought of, okay, what can we do and how can we get to next year? Can I slow down? I wish I could take a 2-week vacation, and that payroll is due every 2 weeks, as is rent once a month. In terms of the choices that senior attorneys have, okay, they really have three choices when it comes to what they can do about this being tired now that we are in the mid 2020s. And what are you going to do about it? The first choice is that senior attorneys can stay in their status quo. And we see this often. The but is, though, that for those senior attorneys that maintain their status quo in the mid 2020s, what we're seeing is one of two things. They're either experiencing decreasing revenues because they're just not bringing in as much business as they did in yesteryear. And there's the possibility for what we call a random Tuesday event. And that random Tuesday event, your would-be internal successor, the person that you expected to walk down the hall to take over your practice, could literally walk down the hall with a much different message. And that message, and we see this, is I'm giving you 2 or 4 weeks notice, despite the fact that I worked here for sometimes even decades, because I'm taking a new job at another firm. Huge blow to the senior attorney, because that would be internal successor, that key attorney in your firm, generated a significant amount of the revenues for the firm, and the firm becomes less valuable as a result. Another random Tuesday possibility is that something happens to the senior attorney, either a physical or mental health disability or premature death. And if a senior attorney is not available to transition clients and referral sources in a sales situation, the value of the firm just plummets. Second choice that senior attorneys have in answer to this, okay, I'm tired, and what can I do about making the office more productive, is to recognize that we are now in a post 2020 environment for developing business. So I'm going to call this, well, double down. Okay, if you're tired, well, you used to really enjoy going to all kinds of networking events and handing out cards, what we call old school methods of developing business. Well, you need to, in terms of keeping pace with generating new clients today, senior attorneys would need to invest in multi-channel digital marketing. That is, invest in Google. Okay, no different than how you used to invest in other parts of the practice. Invest in Google, invest in Google keywords. Number two is become active in social media. Okay, to publish articles in LinkedIn, to join Facebook groups, to put messages on X, which used to be Twitter, images on Instagram, to constantly refresh the content on your website, and enter the audio and video world with podcasts, vodcasts, YouTube videos. Frankly, it's daunting. Okay, most senior attorneys will not go down this road or this choice. The third choice, in terms of those senior attorneys that are tired of running their practices, the third choice, and the choice really that we recommend, is to highly consider join a growing law firm. Growing law firms want and need what you have in terms of your client list, your referral source list, subject matter knowledge that you've developed, the goodwill that you've developed over the course of your career, as well as your entire law firm's goodwill that it has developed, and the treasure troves of digital value that you are literally sitting on. And when our clients are joining growing law firms, we find that they're going from being tired to what we call inspired, because now they've joined a firm, they no longer need to manage the office. It's exciting to be among younger, hungry attorneys that are in growth mode, and then they can go to retired. And when they go into retirement after having joined in practice at a growing law firm for a number of years, it's incredibly satisfying to know that you're retiring after leaving your clients in good and capable hands with lawyers at the firms that senior attorneys join. By the way, when our clients join growing law firms, they're typically joining them with those would-be internal successors that don't want to purchase your practice. They just want a job, and growing law firms want and need your would-be internal successors as well. Okay, so for our second question today, our second question is, what will the market for selling personal injury law firms look like by 2030? We put a lot of thought into personal injury law firms, and we work in this market, think about this market. A reason why is because we admire the fact that personal injury law firms recognize that law firms today need to develop law firm brand equity. That is, that clients are going to be searching for lawyers and personal injury law attorneys because of the brands that they are developing. And law firm brand equity has really four components to it. The first component is that brand awareness itself, right? When would-be clients are going onto these devices and typing in best, let's say, motor vehicle accident attorney near me, that brand awareness is what's going to attract clients to those firms. Trade names. Many law firms generally, and particularly personal injury law firms, are adopting either trade names altogether or reducing their law firm names to just one or two attorneys, so that or surnames, that is, so that it's easier for clients to recognize the trade name of that firm. Third is quality perception, right? We live in a Google review world, okay? Who doesn't purchase something today that is something of significance and want to know how many Google reviews, five-star reviews there are about that product or service? We're absolutely seeing that in the personal injury law field. They're really leading the pack, and most law practice areas will catch up. But that quality perception derives from Google reviews, and then just digital presence, right? And just a recognition that we are in omni-channel, multi-channel. We call it multi-channel digital marketing, so that when clients are looking for a personal injury law attorney, that brand equity is also based upon the fact that there is digital presence in a multi-channel way. Now let's look at, in terms of, who, as we're thinking towards 2030, who's already started to develop that brand equity in the personal injury law space. And here we're giving kudos to Hennessy Digital, led by Jason Hennessy, which published in September of 2023, America's most Googled personal injury law firms. And it's of no surprise, okay, that the number one most Googled brand for personal injury law firms in America is, drum roll, Morgan and Morgan. No surprise. What is surprising and is interesting in this study is that Morgan and Morgan derives approximately 267,000 searches per month, which is they're 5 times ahead of their closest competitor, which is Ben Crump, who is a very accomplished civil rights personal injury law attorney on a national level. What this study is showing is that personal injury law firms get it in terms of developing that brand equity and investing in it. Okay, we see Mr. Morgan, we see his ads, we see his billboards. Other firms are going to catch up. They already are starting to catch up, and they're going to recognize that developing brand equity is incredibly important to attract the attention of today's consumer. So unfortunately injured people that are looking for lawyers, they're going on Google, they're seeing Morgan and Morgan and other law firms. Now, in terms of sales, okay, as we're thinking about the marketplace for personal injury law firms by 2030, okay, as they're building that brand equity, personal injury law firms are leading the charge in what we call law firm sales 2.0. In law firm sales 2.0, what we're seeing, and we're really in the infancy in our experience on this, what we're seeing is fixed prices at closing table. So unlike law firm sales 1.0, where the sales are often based upon earnouts, okay, because we just don't know if the clients are going to continue to come in, because the law firm is so much based upon the goodwill of a given senior attorney. Well, as we think about the marketplace for the personal injury law space heading towards 2030, as personal injury law firms continue developing digital value, brand awareness, that is brand equity, they will experience fixed prices at closing tables plus earnout payment terms. And we're also certainly predicting that those fixed prices, when law firms similar to those firms listed in the Hennessy Digital paper of September of 2023, that they will experience significant seven, eight, and maybe even nine-figure sales as a result. So, if you're a personal injury law firm now in the mid 2020s, what do you do? What do you do now? So, we're showing here the America's Most Googled Personal Injury Law Firms that Hennessy Digital published in September of 2023. This paper shows the top personal injury law firms in the country from a branded standpoint. No surprise that the leader of the pack is Morgan and Morgan. So let's just look under the hood in terms of how that is happening. That is how personal injury law firms are developing and attracting the attention of their clients in terms of this ongoing shift. Okay, here we are in the mid 2020s as we're thinking about sales of personal injury law firms heading towards 2030. We need to recognize that consumer behavior when it comes to searching for and choosing their personal injury law attorney, that consumer behavior has markedly shifted since 2020. And what we're showing here is that the consumers look to Google, they look to websites, they look at LinkedIn profiles, number of Facebook groups to which you belong, the YouTube videos that you're publishing, because people want to and they can, even before they meet you, they want to know you, like you, trust you. Video accomplishes that, and many smart personal injury law attorneys are publishing multiple videos, FAQs, other ways that clients today, just like we, watch all types of YouTube videos all day, every day on our devices. You can connect with clients today and have them know, like, and trust you. And we're seeing that certainly in the personal injury law space. Google reviews, huge. Who doesn't like going onto a website, personal injury law website, and seeing hundreds, if not thousands of Google reviews? These people get good results because of that quality perception that comes out of the Google reviews. And hence, if you're thinking about selling your personal injury law firm heading towards 2030, recognizing the need for multi-channel digital marketing is huge. Let's look at this from a client revenue standpoint. For those personal injury law firms in the mid 2020s that are committed to multi-channel digital marketing, we're seeing that their revenues are absolutely on the rise. Why? Because they're attracting new clients. Clients today are looking for their lawyers online. By contrast, though, for those really what we'll call the senior attorneys, personal injury law attorneys, this is nationwide, that are not adopting multi-channel digital marketing. And why? It's hard. Okay, it takes time. And now let's point out the elephant in the room. It's expensive. It is super expensive to purchase keywords, to embark on investing in SEO. Okay, this takes time and money and effort. And our message to senior attorney, personal injury law attorneys is that if you're seeing your revenues going down in the mid 2020s, then that trajectory is going to continue to go down because the competition is only getting higher and higher. We fully predict that the personal injury law market is going to move similar to the consumer market that we saw with the introduction of Target and Home Depot and Lowe's and Best Buy. We're going to see regional, national personal injury law firms that are going to attract the attention of the consumers. And if you are running a small business personal injury law firm, we highly recommend that you seriously consider at this point selling the law firm, which really means joining one of these growing law firms, because let's just show in what we call law firm sales 1.0. In law firm sales 1.0, senior attorney personal injury law firms have great value. You have clients, you have referral sources. Too few personal injury law attorneys, they don't communicate with their clients after sending them out a settlement check. right? But growing law firms, they want and need that client list. They want and need your goodwill, your subject matter knowledge, that treasure trove of digital value that you're sitting on. And they're very prepared to pay via earnout terms, often that typical third of a third in terms of fee sharing for a number of years with selling personal injury law firms. So, in sum, as we're looking towards 2030, we absolutely see those law firms that are developing brand equity, they're going to be heading towards law firm sales 2.0. Those law firms that are not going to be investing, that is personal injury law firms that are not going to be investing the thousands, really hundreds of thousands of dollars to enter into the multi-channel digital marketing space that's necessary today to attract new clients, we highly recommend here in the mid 2020s, consider law firm sales 1.0. Doesn't mean you need to retire, but it does mean that you can get the best value early in the mid 2020s from your personal injury law firm as compared to later in the 2020s when you're realistically not going to be developing as many clients as you did in yesteryear. So for today's second segment, which is our Poock's Post, our Poock's Post today is that the writing is on the wall about digital marketing impacting the value of senior attorney-led law firms. So in terms of that writing is on the wall, okay, we see it. We believe that senior attorneys see it, and now let's discuss it. That is that the writing is on the wall that today's clients search for their lawyers online. They just do. It's the reality. We search for everything and anything on these devices, let alone our computers, okay? And we're searching today for our lawyers as well. In the yesteryear, what we call pre-Google, today's senior attorneys built their businesses from a here's my card type of practice. That is being out and about in the community, getting to know everyone and anyone that you can, whether it's at your kid's soccer game on a Saturday or a Sunday or a charitable event on a Thursday night. Okay. Today's senior attorneys in that pre-Google world, they built their practices and built their goodwill, their reputation over handing out their cards. Here's my card. Can I get your card? Let me give you my card. Okay. In the post 2020 world, though, clients are avoiding your business cards because they're just doing a Google search for the best, fill in the blank attorney near me. And in terms of an ongoing shift that we're seeing in the marketplace, we're absolutely seeing in the marketplace that writing on the wall in terms of where consumers are searching for their lawyers online is shown in terms of who's attracting more clients today, right? The law firms that are investing in multi-channel digital marketing with a Google-centric approach and investing in Google AdWords, okay, for clients to find them on the first page of Google. They are attracting more new clients than most senior attorney-led firms that maintain a website-only type approach. And now let's just delve for a moment outside of the legal industry. We as lawyers, right, we work well by analogy. So let's look at three non-law examples of when consumers migrated because of convenience from an industry leader of yesteryear to a much more convenient industry leader of the present. So let's look at Sears, the New York City yellow taxis, and Blockbuster, right? Sears founded in 1893. Okay, its motto, Sears has everything. Amazon, founded in 1994, 100 or so years later. Okay, Sears had 100 years on Amazon. And by 2011, Amazon's revenues surpassed Sears. New York City taxi cab medallions. We all know where this one is going, right? Taxi cab medallions in New York City introduced in 1937. Uber introduced in 2009. In a short 8-year time frame, Uber surpasses taxi ridership in New York City. And then finally, Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster, we used to all love to go down to our local Blockbuster, rent a video. Its motto, be kind, rewind. I mean, that seems like 500 years ago. Be wind and rewind. Who the heck's going to rewind a video cassette today, right? And Netflix, founded in 1997, by 2010, Netflix's revenue surpassed Blockbuster, and Blockbuster doesn't even exist today. Neither really does Sears. It's been in bankruptcy as well. The overall point here is that consumers, they migrate to convenience. And in terms of that writing is on the wall for lawyers, what we are seeing in the marketplace what we are seeing in the marketplace as a result of this writing is on the wall, that today's consumers of legal services, that is clients, that they are searching for lawyers online. We are seeing that growing law firms that are investing in multi-channel digital marketing, their revenues continue to increase. We're also seeing that senior attorneys, their revenues are going down. And why? Because clients are simply not finding them. What's really important to today's senior attorneys as they're thinking about, okay, my revenues are going down. Well, in the context of a sale of a law firm, what is it that today's senior attorneys, what do they have that growing law firms continue to want and need? They have synergy value. There's 4 components of synergy value that today's senior attorneys have in the mid 2020s in terms of what they offer to growing law firms, which is their instant client growth, the combined workforce, as we have the workforce that can do the work that senior attorneys continue to generate and that growing law firms generate, and they need experienced lawyers and non-lawyers to do the work, the cumulative expertise, right? Everybody wants an older lawyer that has the expertise. And senior attorney-led firms present that. And then marketing value. Even though that writing is on the wall and senior attorneys may not be investing themselves in multi-channel digital marketing, they are sitting on treasure troves of digital content that today's growing law firms want and need. And in terms of that, the client list in particular, let's take a look at the book of business, right? We always hear in the context of the legal industry, what's the book of business that a particular lawyer or law firm has? Senior attorneys today, they have books of business that they developed in the pre-Google world, okay? When they were out with all those business cards, before this writing was on the wall about the fact that today's clients are looking for lawyers online, when the age of the rainmaker attorney was at its height in the pre-Google era, senior attorneys built up tremendous books of business. A significant warning, though, to today's senior attorneys is that that book of business could turn from what we call green to orange, meaning that if senior attorneys are not investing in multi-channel digital marketing, and if their referral sources are similarly aged to them and aren't going to be referring new clients because the referral sources may be retiring, then that book of business, which is the key value component to a senior attorney when they're considering selling their law firms, that book of business could be very well depreciating in value. So when it comes to this writing on the wall, okay, that is absolutely in front of us today, senior attorneys really need to realize that today's clients are searching for their lawyers online, and that you're just not handing out as many business cards as you did in yesteryear. And just as a question, when was the last time you ordered a new box of business cards? But unlike the consumer examples of businesses like Sears and Blockbuster and the unfortunate owners of taxi cab medallions that were surpassed by Uber within the last 10 to 20 years. Unlike those entities where, let's say, Sears is left with a bunch of merchandise that they don't have consumers to sell the merchandise to, or Blockbuster has useless videos and DVDs that nobody watches in their DVD or VHS players today. Senior attorneys have clients. You have client lists, you have referral source lists. And while that book of business that you spent a career developing is intact and is not yet depreciating in value because you're not replenishing it as much as you did in yesteryear, we are highly recommending, as that writing is on the wall, because you are likely not going to replenish it. That is the book of business as much as you did in yesteryear. While that writing is on the wall in the early part of the mid 2020s, we highly recommend that today's senior attorneys consider selling, merging with, associating with growing law firms that want and need that all important book of business and the synergy value that senior attorneys present to growing law firms. And that is episode 9 of the Ask the Law Firm Seller Show.